Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're talking about filters for small sized ponds, okay? Ponds under 1,000 gallons. So I have 4 different filters here today that we're going to talk about. We're going to look at the different varieties and how they function, how they work, and hopefully to help you to figure out what's the best option for you in your pond, okay? Now, let me say as well that the filter system that you choose for your pond, you should have an idea of what you're looking to do before you build your pond. Okay, your design and your plan for your pond should include what kind of filter you're going to be using. Don't build a pond first and then go looking for a pump and filter and say, oh, you know, I wish I could have used this one, but I didn't build that way. Now I have to use this one, or I have, okay? So have it all in the design of your pond so you know what you need to purchase, you know, before you build it. Now, the thing is with that too, is this way you are purchasing the filter system that fits your pond the best. It's not something that you need to retrofit to it. It's going to be something that's made to fit your style pond, whatever you're building. Okay? So, with that in mind, let's look at these. So our first one is this box right here. Now this is a small filter. Okay, this would go in a small, maybe like a little preformed pond, or if you know if you did a liner and it's something small, you know, 5 by 4, just a little pond, you know, with a lily and a couple fish and a plant or 2 in it. Something like this can help you out. So this sits in the bottom of the pond. There's a filter pad on the top, and what happens is there's a pump underneath that filter pad, as well as a UV light. It's, I believe, a 9-watt UV light. So what happens is this pulls water down through the top, through the pad, and then there's some media underneath, and then the pump pulls it out, goes through UV light, and it gets discharged here. And there's 2 ways that this can be discharged. There is a little valve here, okay, to regulate the flow. One will allow the water flow to come up through this fountain head, okay, and also, or divert it out this outlet here, where we can run like maybe like a 1/2-inch tubing and come up around to maybe like a spitting frog, or, you know, a little statue that spits water on the side of the pond, or even maybe just a little waterfall where it's just spilling over a rock and dripping back to the pond. This little diverter valve also helps to regulate how much water is coming off this fountain head. So this fountain head is what's called a bell, right? The water comes out in a nice bell form like this. They're actually pretty nice. They work really well. They don't clog up too often. But there are other types of fountain heads that I'm going to talk later in another video about pond accessories. That, you know, the 3 tiers with all the little jets spitting out all the way, and they can get clogged up a lot and pretty easily, because they're all little holes on top. But these bells, these little geyser kind of things, they work really well. Okay, so something like this works, you know, in a really small pond. The only thing we need to worry about with this is that when we do have to clean this, we have to remove it from the pond. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that, you know, if this thing gets really dirty and really caked up with stuff and you start pulling this out, a lot of that's going to get stirred up back in the pond. So just keep up with these so they don't get too dirty and too bad. And, you know, the dirtier they are, the heavier they are. Okay, so it's just, you know, we want to be able to just reach down, grab this thing and just pull it out, wash it all down with a hose. These open up, you know, the lid opens up with little snaps here, it comes right off, and then we can clean all the media and put it right back in down the bottom of the pond. It comes with a long cord and you can plug it right back in. Our next option for really the same size pond, maybe even a little bigger, okay, maybe a 500-600 gallon per hour gallon pond, is a canister filter like this. Now, these canister filters are available in different sizes, okay? So they do get bigger. So as right now, I'm just kind of comparing these two for the same size pond, something maybe a couple 100 gallons. You know, you can get these for larger ponds, 700, 800. You know, they do come in different sizes. The difference basically is the size of the container, and the size of the container that they're in will allow for more water flow through it. Okay, so we can put larger pumps to turn over more water. But for right now, you know, I just have this one here. They're all going to be the same idea. They're built the same way. They just have larger inlets and outlets for the bigger units. So this one basically has a pipe coming in. Okay, the water goes down through the whole unit. There's sponges inside here. There's some plastic media inside, and then it comes back out this way. All right, this also has a UV light built inside of it. All right, as does this. Now, what's a UV light? All right, well, I'm going to have a whole video on UV lights, but this basically for now, all you need to know is it's a unit that has an ultraviolet bulb inside of it. Now, as the water passes through that unit or by that unit, the UV burns the algae cells that are in the water. So it'll keep your water nice and clear. All right, it's not going to kill the algae that's on the rocks. It's not going to kill any algae growing on your waterfall, because that's not exposed to this light. But it's the waterborne particles, algae cells, that flow through this that the UV can kill. And it acts as a clarifier, not so much a sterilizer, but a clarifier in this usage. So, you know, it helps to keep your pond water clear. Okay, the filter pads will remove sediment and debris and dirt, okay, and the UV light will kill some of the algae cells in the water so it doesn't turn to pea soup. They're really nice, you know, in these smaller units that it's all connected and all becomes part of it. But when you get into larger ponds, I definitely recommend that you get yourself a separate UV light, a whole separate dedicated unit, rather than having it a part of something else. Okay, so this also now has the input, the output, and it also has a discharge. And this here is a little valve that can regulate the water flow, the direction. So if we want to backwash this thing, the water will come in, go through the unit, and then come out this way. Some of these guys have like little handles, and there's, you know, you can spin them around as the pump's going through it, and it'll like stir up some of the garbage inside, and it spits it all out, this discharge pipe. And then when you're done, you can just turn this diverter valve back to the pond return. They work well, okay? I mean, it works well, but it is small. Okay, so just keep in mind, you know, how much water you're pumping through this thing and how dirty your pond is as to how quickly that this little container is going to get clogged up. All right, so backwash it as often as you can, and eventually, even I would also recommend that once in a while you take this unit apart and take the pads out and stuff from inside and really wash them down nice and put it back in at least a couple times throughout the season. Okay, so that's this. The connections for these there's all different little fittings that can come on this. You can connect hoses to it, rubber tubing, whatever. I would really recommend what's called Flex PVC, okay, where you can actually put on a PVC fitting on the front and glue this flexible PVC pipe into it. It's definitely a much sturdier, much stronger, and it's a really universal fitting, okay? All Flex PVC pipe, if it's 1 inch, it's going to fit all 1 inch PVC fittings. Tubings can get kind of funny, all right? There's all kinds of crazy sizes, inside diameter, outside diameter, then clamps and all this stuff. You got to put clamps on it. If you can glue tubing, PVC pipe in, that's definitely your best option. And there will be like little unions that can go on this so you can unscrew it and take it apart. There's a lot of different things you can do with that, okay? So that's those two. Now let's talk about something a little bit bigger, a little bit better, okay? All right, that would be this unit here. Okay, this unit is something that's going to sit maybe on the top of a waterfall or at the beginning of a stream. And what happens is there's a little lip that goes on the front here. We're going to pump water into the bottom of this. It goes through a couple layers of pads. It comes through a bag of media, and it overflows and comes out the front of the pond in a nice cascade. Front of the filter back to your pond with a nice cascade of water. These filters are really great. All right, let me just take the top off here. They work really well. What you have inside here, it comes with a little bag of goodies, some silicone, nuts and bolts and screws and stuff. We have a couple fittings in here. There's a nylon mesh media bag, and there's a couple layers of filter pads inside. Okay, now, basically what happens is on the side of the unit, there's a 2-inch fitting on that side. There's a 2-inch fitting on this side. So what that allows for is no matter what side your hose is coming from your pump, okay, you can go in either side. So if we're going in this side here, we put our 2-inch male fitting here, and we can put a 2-inch plug on this side to plug it, right, so that the water's not leaking out here. That's typically how, they're designed to set up. I want to give you another suggestion, just really simple. If you have this up on the top of a waterfall and this thing is up above ground, if you can get access to the back of this, what I would recommend doing is putting a little ball valve in here, a 2-inch valve in here, and then come on this side and put a pipe on this side with another valve. Okay, another 2-inch valve, or you can reduce it and go 1.5 inches. We're going to use this as a drain. Okay, as long as we have a place, we're up above ground and we can drain this out someplace in the back, why not? It's going to make it easier. So what we would do is shut off our pump, close this valve so the garbage doesn't go back into the pipe, and then open this valve, and all this water will go drain right out our pipe. We can bring our water hose over. We can wash out these pads, all the media inside of this thing. Just wash it all right here. Flush out the whole inside of this tank. Let all that garbage come out. When we're done, we're going to open this valve, close this valve, all right, put all our media back in, open this valve, and plug in our pump. And then we're good to go. We're all nice and clean again. This comes with this little nylon mesh media bag. So for years and years and years, people were always putting in lava rock into these bags, into the top of these filters. Now, lava rock has been used a lot in the past, especially because it is lighter than normal stone and is very porous. So all these pores inside the rock help to hold more bacteria, okay? It's got more surface area for bacteria growth. The bacteria does a whole chemical process in the pond. I'm not going to get into that here on this video, but I will talk about it in another video when we talk about larger filters and filter media for them. So, for right now, all we need to know is that you get this bag, and we need to fill it up with something. So my suggestion would be, rather than putting lava rock into it, all right, even though this is smaller, and a bag of lava rock in here is not going to weigh a ton, but some of these bags get really big, and you're picking up this lava rock, and as those bags get older, and they start to deteriorate a little bit, you pick up that whole big bag of rock, and eventually it's going to rip, all right? So, what's easier? All right, so there's media called bio balls, which are little round plastic balls. They're about the size of golf balls, and they're all full of holes and pores and all kinds of crazy patterns on them. And they're plastic balls, right? So they don't weigh very much at all. I've seen little square sponges being used in this. That too is good. However, the sponges are a little more difficult to clean because they hold all the water, they hold a lot of sludge, and they get heavier as well, right, when they absorb that water, so when you're pulling them out. But they're not terrible. I use this stuff called Biofill. Okay, it's basically like a plastic ribbon, and that stuff is dynamite. That stuff is great. You just put this whole bag, you just put a 1 cubic foot bag in here of biofill, and it's just a nice square bag of ribbon, and it weighs nothing. And to clean it, I mean, we're literally just, you know, putting a water hose on it, shaking it around a little bit, one more water hose, shake it a little bit, and you're good. It's really easy, and then throw it right back in. You will need to put like a little, you know, rock or stone or something on the top of it to hold it so it doesn't float and back up and clog up your waterway here. But it's really easy. It's great stuff. So anything like that, right? Any kind of plastic media, you know, bio balls, biofill, sponges, something like that. Better than putting rock, stone, lava rock, or whatever in the bag. So now, how does this get hooked up? Real quickly, all right? This comes with this little spillway lip, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring our pond liner up the front of this. We're gonna put a bead of silicone here on the face of this lip, okay? We're gonna bring our liner up against the silicone. There's little clamps that we can hold the liner up here while we're doing all this. It'll hold it up. We could put a bead of silicone on this little spillway. And then we take this and we're gonna put it right in the front. So we have our filter tank, silicone, liner, okay, silicone and lip, all right? Right on top like this. Now in that little bag of parts, we got all the little screws, and this is all pre-drilled. So we can put all our little screws in here and screw this whole thing down to the main tank. And then we're gonna take a little more silicone, all right? Or if it kind of squishes out in the middle here, we're gonna fill this whole seam with silicone, okay? The seam in the front here where the two parts come together, we're going to make sure that's all solid and sealed with silicone. Now that is a spot that I've seen filters start to fail after a while, okay? If that liner is not secured in there properly and seamed in there properly, it could leak through here. So maybe every year, every couple years, you might want to just go over this bead of silicone right on the top here, and that'll make sure that we're not leaking. But they're really easy to do. So what happens is the water comes in the bottom, fills up, comes through all the media, and overflows down this spillway with a nice cascade of water. So when we're picking pumps out for waterfalls, typically a little rule of thumb we want to go by is that we want to have 100 gallons of water flow per inch of width of our waterfall, okay? So this thing is probably about 12, 14 inches. So I would say a pump anywhere, you know, 1,000 to 1,500 gallons an hour is going to give us a nice little flow down this thing. Now, could we go a little bit bigger? Yes, this can handle a little more water, okay, definitely. You can probably go 2,000, 2,500 gallons an hour through this. You know, if you don't want Niagara Falls, maybe you want just a nice little trickle off the front, well, you know, you can do a 700-800 gallon per hour pump on it, all right? But this will definitely give you a nice little cascade of water. And these are really good filters. The concept of the water coming in the bottom, solid settling on the bottom, and then the water filtering through the pads and all and overflowing the top works really well. Okay, so that's this. Oh, one last thing with this. It does come with this little cover, okay? Comes with this little cover that sits on the side. If you notice, this cover does have drain holes in it, okay, for water, for any rain or whatever that gets in it. It sits right on the top like this. I've seen several things done on the top here, whether we just put some gravel on the top, maybe a couple rocks, you know, just to kind of hide this whole thing. Or I've seen people put plants in the top here, and I don't really like that because they put a little bit of dirt in the bottom, and then they put a couple small little plant things on top here, because the idea is they want the plants to kind of hide and cover all this. But the problem is all those little holes that are drilled into this thing, any dirt or mud is going to leak through there and go right into our filter and right back to our pond. All right, so be really careful with that. I typically would just put rock over the top. Now, one disadvantage with these filters And it's only a disadvantage if you make it one, okay? I've seen these filters, and they come in all sizes too, right? This is a smaller one, but you can get them big, okay? You can get spillways on them, you know, 2.5, 3 feet. The thing that you need to be careful about, this is the pond builder in me, I hate to see these things on top of a waterfall where it looks like a pile of rock hiding a box rather than a beautiful waterfall. Okay, so be conscious of that if you're installing one of these. You don't just want to pile rock up around it to hide it and just have the water fall over, okay? Make a nice design and incorporate it in so that it looks as natural as possible. For me, see, all my filters, I use gravity-fed filters, so I'm all external filter tanks, out of sight, out of mind, and my waterfall is a waterfall, period. That's it. It's not hiding, you know, a filter tank, okay? But these are really popular, and these are really popular when they're used in conjunction with a skimmer. Okay, so we'd have a skimmer on the pond with a sump pump in the skimmer that pumps out of, you know, the skimmer, maybe through a UV light and then into the bottom of one of these. And that's really common, and they work really well for smaller ponds. Even some larger ponds are set up like that too. It just depends on how much water you're moving. I don't set them up. I use 4-inch bottom drains and a gravity-fed filter system. Okay, but I see this a lot, and I'm not going to tell you that it doesn't work. All right, they do work. I just think that there's better ways of doing things. But for your average, you know, landscaper guy, a homeowner, putting in this is a really nice filter to use in that circumstance. Okay. Now I got one more filter to talk about, and this is a bead filter. Okay. All right, so this is a typical bead filter. This filter right here is rated for a 2,000 gallon per hour pond. All right, 2,000 gallon pond. They come in all different sizes. All right, they come from a 1,000, which is half the small, it's a small round one. This is a 2,000, a 4,000, a 6,000, a 10,000, a 20,000, and a 30,000. Okay, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as we go. So again, this is a 2,000. I like this size filter for smaller ponds. I don't really like the 1,000 quite as much. I just think it's a little too small. I think if you're going to invest that kind of money and we're going to, you know, build a nice pond, go with the little bigger unit. Okay, so just because this is a 2,000, that doesn't mean that this has to be on a 2,000 gallon pond. You can put this on a 700-800 gallon, 1,000 gallon pond with no problem. All right, the advantage to this is you can pump a nice high flow rate of water through here and turn over that pond's volume several times an hour. So these are really nice. Basically, they come with these unions that unscrew. Okay, it's all PVC pipes connected in here. They unscrew right off, so you can, you know, take these all apart. They have little O-rings inside of them that seal the water, so it's easy to take them apart, on and off. It's got an input, an output, and a waste, a discharge for backwashing. Okay. Handle on the top, turn the handle, and there's different positions here. Okay, this is what's called the multi-valve. So you have filtration up top, rinse, recirculate, backwash, closed, winter, and waste. All right, so each one of those little spots does something a little bit different. But just for right now, right, we've got filter. And then if we want to backwash, we just push the handle, turn it around down here to backwash. And then rather than our water returning back to the pond through here, it's going to come out here through a waste pipe. And it turns all the media inside here, turns it all around, and it spits out all the garbage. Okay. I'm going to get into a whole video about this guy and how to use them, how to clean them, how to maintain them, okay, and how they work. But for right now, I just want to show you your options for smaller ponds, okay? So These are great. They work really well, okay? Again, I set up gravity-fed filtration systems with external tanks and all that stuff, but occasionally I do use these, or I come across a client who I'm rebuilding their pond and already has one, whatever size, right? So if they have one, I'll put it in conjunction with my filter, and these things stay super clean and work just awesomely, okay? On their own, they do a really good job too. You just have to make sure you keep backwashing these things. We can't allow the media in here to get all clogged up and caked up with garbage. So the more often you can backwash this thing, at least maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks at the least, okay, the better, okay? Everything will flow much better. It'll stay cleaner. Pond will stay cleaner, and you'll be much happier. So these are really easy, right? Put it on filter, turn it, put it on backwash. When it's done, right, you go on backwash a little bit, you go on rinse a little bit, go back on backwash, back to rinse, and then go back to filter, and you're good. All right. Keep in mind that your pumps are pumping water out of your pond when you're backwashing this thing, okay? So if you have a small pond and you're backwashing a lot, you're draining water out of your pond. So you may need to just top your pond back off. But really nice, really simple, easy to use. Not my preferred filter, okay? But I certainly have nothing bad to say about these things. I just don't like setting them up by putting a sump pump in the pond, or having an external pump with a suction strainer in the pond where I'm sucking all the garbage directly into a pump first and then putting it through here. My gravity-fed filter systems, I have bottom drains where all the garbage just goes down the drain into the bottom of a tank, gets filtered first, and then my pump pulls it out. So there's, you know, different ways of doing things. But in a really small pond, we're not going to set up a big gravity-fed filter system. If I'm doing a small pond, I'm probably putting in a skimmer with something like that or something similar. Okay. So that ought to give you a good little idea of 4 different types of filters that we can use in smaller ponds. Obviously, we went from smallest to biggest, okay, and we went from cheapest to most expensive. Don't skimp on your filter systems, okay? That's the life of your pond, okay? That's the heartbeat of your pond. The better your filter is, the better your pond is going to be, right? At least less maintenance. It's going to stay cleaner. It's going to stay clearer. You're going to be able to enjoy it more. So invest in your filter system. Make sure that your filter system is, you know, oversized for the size of pond that you want to put in. And always make sure you keep maintenance up on them. Keep them cleaned. Keep them backwashed. You know, the cleaner your filter is, the cleaner your pond's going to be. Okay? So with that in mind, thank you for checking it out today. Please check out my website, pondscapesandmore.com. I have a ton of pictures and descriptions of ponds and work I've done over the past 25 years. So hopefully maybe you'll see some pictures you like if you're planning on building a pond. Maybe you'll get inspired a little bit and get some ideas. And please hit the like button. And you know, if you're interested in more pond videos and would like to learn a lot more about ponds and every aspect of your pond, please hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified whenever I put out a new video. There's going to be a lot of them. Okay, so again, thanks for checking it out, and we'll see you again soon. Have a nice day.